I tear down buildings for a living. For the past 14 years, I've worked in demolition, driving bulldozers, setting charges, reducing structures to rubble. It's good money, steady work. I tell myself it's honest labor, but the truth is, when I was 12 years old, I wanted to build things, not destroy them. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to create skyscrapers that touched the clouds, buildings that would last forever. Then, life happened. I dropped out of college in my second year and never went back. The dream died quietly, like most dreams do. My crew got a contract to demolish Lincoln Elementary School. I didn't think much about it. Just another job. Just another building coming down. Then, while tearing down a classroom wall, I found a time capsule from 1994. Inside were letters from fifth graders writing to their future selves. And one of those letters had my name on it, written in my 12-year-old handwriting, about the dream I'd abandoned. This is the story of what happened when I demolished the one place where I still had hope. Before we dive in, have you ever rediscovered a childhood dream you thought was dead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories about second chances, mentors who never give up on us, and finding hope in unexpected places, please subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Now let me tell you about the letter I wrote 30 years ago. People ask what it's like tearing down buildings. They imagine it's cathartic, powerful, taking a sledgehammer to walls, watching structures crumble, reducing something solid to dust. Sometimes it is, but mostly it's just work. Methodical, careful. You can't just smash things randomly. There's engineering involved. Load-bearing walls, utilities, asbestos. You have to know what you're tearing down before you tear it down. I studied architecture in college, 2 years before I had to drop out. I learned how buildings are constructed so I could design them. Now I use that knowledge to destroy them. 3 weeks ago, my foreman called me into the office. Got a new job. Lincoln Elementary on the south side. School's been closed for 10 years. City sold the property. Developer wants luxury apartments. When do we start? Monday. It's a big one. 3-story building built in the 60s. Asbestos in the walls, probably lead paint. We'll need to strip it carefully before the heavy equipment goes in. I nodded. Standard procedure. How long? 4 weeks, maybe 5. Tommy Willis will be your second. He's young but good with his hands. Tommy was 28. Ambitious. Always talking about going back to school for engineering. I liked him well enough, even if his optimism sometimes exhausted me. Monday morning, I pulled up to Lincoln Elementary School for the first time in 30 years. I didn't recognize it at first. The building looked smaller than I remembered, sadder. Windows boarded up, graffiti on the brick walls. The playground was gone, just cracked concrete where swings and slides used to be. But when I saw the faded sign above the main entrance, Lincoln Elementary, Esther 1962, something clicked. I'd gone to school here, 4th and 5th grade, 1993 to 1995, before my family moved to a different neighborhood. I stood in the parking lot staring at the building, memories flooding back. The cafeteria where I ate rectangular pizza every Friday. The hallway where I'd gotten shoved into lockers by bigger kids. This was my elementary school, and I was here to tear it down. Tommy noticed me staring. "You good, boss?" "Yeah, I went to school here, long time ago." "No shit? Small world." "Yeah, must be weird, tearing down your old school. It's just a building." But it wasn't, and we both knew it. We started with the interior, stripping asbestos, removing fixtures, disconnecting utilities. It was slow, careful work. I assigned Tommy to the west wing. I took the east wing where the upper-grade classrooms were. I walked through hallways I'd walked as a kid. They were narrower than I remembered, dirtier, lockers rusted, floor tiles cracked, but the bones were the same. Room 204, Room 206, Room 208, Room 210. Mrs. Foster's 5th grade classroom. I stood in the doorway. The room was empty, desks gone, blackboard removed, just bare walls and dusty floors. But I could still see it, the way it used to be, Mrs. Foster at the front of the room, posters on the walls, me sitting in the third row, sketching buildings in the margins of my notebook. I'd loved this room, loved school, loved learning. When did that change? I was pulling down old bulletin boards when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me, sir?" I turned. An old man stood in the hallway, probably mid-70s, white hair, stooped shoulders, dressed in a worn jacket and work boots. "This is a construction site," I said. "You can't be here." "I know, He looked around the hallway, his eyes sad. "I worked here for 29 years. I was the janitor. I came to say goodbye." I softened. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be harsh. It's just safety regulations. I understand, I won't get in your way. I just wanted to see it one more time before it's gone." I nodded. "You can stay for a few minutes, just stay away from the equipment." "Thank you." He walked slowly down the hallway, running his hand along the wall. So many memories here. "What's your name?" I asked. "Elias Nowak, but the kids always called me Mr. Nowak." Mr. Nowak. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. I remembered him, the janitor, the man who let me stay after school to draw, who brought me cookies from the cafeteria, who never told me to go home, even when it was getting dark. "Mr. Nowak," I said quietly, You probably don't remember me, but I went to school here, 1993 to 1995. He turned, studying my face. Then his eyes widened. "Vincent? Vincent Ortega?" I froze. "You remember me?" "Of course I remember you. You were in Mrs. Foster's class, 5th grade. You stayed after school every day, drawing pictures of buildings, skyscrapers, bridges. You wanted to do it for a living." My throat tightened. "Yeah, that was the plan." He looked at me for a long moment, then at the demolition equipment, the sledgehammers, the hazard signs. "What happened?" he asked gently. We sat on the front steps of the school, the only part still intact. I didn't owe this man an explanation. I hadn't seen him in 30 years. But something about the way he asked, no judgment, just quiet curiosity, made me want to tell him. My dad left when I was 14, just walked out one day, never came back. My mom had to work 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I got into community college, architecture program, but I had to drop out sophomore year. Couldn't afford tuition, had to work full-time to help my mom. Mr. Nowak nodded, listening. I told myself I'd go back eventually, but life got in the way. I started working construction. Good money. Then I moved to demolition at 28. Even better money, and I just never went back. "And now you're here," Mr. Nowak said, "tearing down the school where you first dreamed of building." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, the irony isn't lost on me. Do you like demolition?" The question caught me off guard. No one had ever asked me that. "It's a job, it pays the bills." "That's not what I asked." I looked at him. "No, I don't like it. But I'm 42 years old. Too late to start over." Mr. Nowak smiled sadly. "Vincent, can I tell you something? I came to America when I was 35, from Poland. I spoke no English. I worked in a factory for 10 years. Miserable work, dangerous. I hated every minute. Then I got a job here, as a janitor. People said, 'Elias, you have an engineering degree from Poland. Why are you cleaning toilets?' But I loved it. Being around children, watching them learn, grow, dream." "What's your point?" "My point is I was 45 when I finally found work I loved. You're 42. You have time. It's not that simple. It never is. But it's possible, if you want it to be." I didn't see Mr. Nowak for the next few days. We were too busy stripping the building, but I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. "You have time." Did I? I'd be 46, maybe 47 by the time I finished a degree. That's if I could even afford it. If I could balance work and school. If I was still smart enough to keep up with kids half my age. It felt impossible. So I buried the thought and focused on the work. On Thursday, I was tearing down a wall in room 210, Mrs. Foster's old classroom. The drywall was old, crumbling easily under the sledgehammer. Then I hit something solid. I stopped, pulled away the drywall carefully. Behind it was a small metal box wedged into the wall cavity. "Tommy!" I called. "Come look at this." Tommy jogged over. "What did you find?" "Some kind of box. Looks like it's been here a while." I pried it out carefully. It was a lunchbox, rusted but intact. No lock, just a latch. I opened it. Inside were dozens of folded pieces of paper, letters, yellowed with age. Tommy picked one up, unfolded it. "Whoa! It's a time capsule. Look, to my future self, from Sonia Malaga, 5th grade, 1994. A time capsule, from 30 years ago." I picked up another letter, then another, all from 5th graders in 1994, Mrs. Foster's class, my class. Then I saw one with my name on it. Vincent Ortega, 5th grade, Mrs. Foster's class, 1994. My handwriting, from when I was 12 years old. My hands started shaking. I sat down on the floor holding the letter. Tommy watched me. "You okay, boss?" "This is mine. I wrote this 30 years ago. You gonna read it?" I stared at the folded paper. Part of me didn't want to hear what 12-year-old Vincent had to say to 42-year-old Vincent. But I unfolded it. "Hi, future Vincent. I'm 12 years old right now. I'm in 5th grade. Mrs. Foster said we should write letters to our future selves and put them in a time capsule. She said maybe in 30 years someone will open it and we'll get to read what we wrote. I hope it's you reading this. I hope you remember me. I want to be an architect when I grow up. I want to build skyscrapers, buildings so tall they touch the clouds. I want to design bridges and museums and libraries. I want to make things that last forever. Mrs. Foster says I'm really good at math and drawing. She says if I work hard, I can do anything I want. I hope when you read this, future Vincent, you're an architect. I hope you're building amazing things. I hope you're happy. I hope you made me proud. Vincent, age 12, 1994. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my pocket. Tommy didn't say anything, just put a hand on my shoulder. "Take a break, man. I'll handle this room." I nodded and walked out. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. I hope you made me proud. I hadn't. I'd done the exact opposite. 12-year-old Vincent wanted to build things that last forever. 42-year-old Vincent spent his days tearing things down. I'd failed him, failed myself, and now I was literally demolishing the building where I'd written that letter. The place where I'd still had hope, still believed I could be something. The cruelty of it was almost poetic. That evening, Mr. Nowak was back, sitting on the front steps, watching the sunset. I sat down next to him. Didn't say anything for a while. Then I pulled out the letter, handed it to him. He read it slowly. When he finished, he handed it back. "You were always drawing buildings, I remember. I found this today, in a wall, time capsule from 1994. And what did you think, when you read it?" "I think I let that kid down." Mr. Nowak looked at me. "It's not too late to make it right, Vincent. I'm 42. And you'll be 43 next year whether you do something about it or not. The years pass anyway. The question is, what are you going to do with them?" I went home that night and pulled out my laptop. I Googled Architecture Program Chicago, Chicago City College, night classes, bachelor's degree in architecture. Part-time program, 4 to 5 years. I could work during the day, go to class at night. It would be hard. I'd be the oldest student by decades. But it was possible. I clicked on the admissions page, stared at the application form. My finger hovered over Apply Now. What if I failed? What if I wasn't smart enough anymore? What if I was too old, too tired, too far behind? But then I thought about the letter. About 12-year-old Vincent, sitting in Mrs. Foster's classroom, believing he could do anything. I clicked Apply Now. The next day, Mr. Nowak was back at the school. I was starting to realize he came every day, watching us work, saying quiet goodbyes to the building he'd cared for nearly 3 decades. I did it, I told him. I applied. To go back to school. His face lit up. Vincent, that's wonderful. I don't know if I'll get in, or if I can afford it, or if I'm even smart enough anymore. Stop, you're smart enough, you always were, and you'll figure out the rest. Why do you care so much? You barely know me. Mr. Nowak smiled. I knew hundreds of children in my 29 years here, but I remember you, Vincent, because you had something special, a dream, and I watched you stay after school every day, drawing, planning, imagining. I believed in you then. I believe in you now. My throat tightened. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't give up on that boy. The one who wrote the letter? He's still in there. Over the next 2 weeks I continued the demolition, but I also started preparing for school. The college accepted my application. Financial aid covered most of the tuition. I'd have to take out a small loan for the rest, but it was manageable. Classes started in 3 months. Tommy found out. Dude, you're going back to school? That's fucking awesome. Thanks. Can I ask you something? Do you think it's too late for me? I'm 28. I always wanted to study engineering, but I thought I was too old. I looked at him. I'm 42 and I'm doing it. You're not too old. You really think so? Yeah, I do. A week later, Tommy told me he'd applied to the same program. Engineering. Night classes. You inspired me, man, he said. If you can do it, I can do it. The demolition was almost complete. We'd stripped the interior, removed hazardous materials. Next week, the heavy equipment would come in. The building would be reduced to rubble in a matter of days. On our last day inside the building, Mr. Nowak was there. I found him standing in the hallway outside room 210. Mrs. Foster's old classroom. My old classroom. This was your room, he said. I remember. You'd sit in the 3rd row, by the window. You remember that? I remember everything. That's the gift and the curse of working with children. You remember all of them, even the ones who forgot you. I didn't forget you, Mr. Nowak. He smiled. I know, and that means more than you know. We walked through the empty building one last time, our footsteps echoing. Thank you, I said, for coming back, for remembering me, and believing I could still do this. Vincent, I didn't do anything. You did this. You made the choice. You opened the application. You're the one going back to school. I just reminded you of something you already knew. What's that? That it's never too late to build something beautiful. The building came down on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there. I couldn't watch. I asked Tommy to supervise the final demolition. Instead, I drove to a park a few miles away, sat on a bench, thought about the school, about 12-year-old Vincent, about Mr. Nowak. Before the demolition, I'd gone back one last time, salvaged a few things. A piece of tile from Mrs. Foster's classroom, the metal plaque that had hung above the main entrance, Lincoln Elementary, Esther 1962, and the time capsule. I kept that too. 3 months later, I started classes. Chicago City College, Introduction to Architectural Design, Monday and Wednesday nights. I was the oldest student in the room by at least 15 years. The others were kids, 22, 23, bright-eyed, full of energy. I felt out of place, old, tired. But when the professor started talking about load-bearing structures, about design principles, about how buildings stand up and why they fall down, something clicked. I remembered why I'd loved this. Every Wednesday night I had dinner with Mr. Nowak. It started the 2nd week of classes. He'd invited me. Said he wanted to hear how school was going. We met at a diner near his apartment. Nothing fancy. Coffee and pie. Sometimes burgers. He'd ask about my classes. I'd tell him about the projects, the homework, the younger students who looked at me like I was ancient. Do they give you trouble? he asked once. No, they're actually nice. One kid, probably 23, asked me for help with calculus, said I explained it better than the professor. Mr. Nowak smiled. Because you've lived. You understand why the math matters. They're just memorizing formulas. The first year was hard, harder than I'd expected. I worked 8 hours a day in demolition, then drove to campus, sat through 3-hour classes, came home at 10 p.m., did homework until midnight, woke up at 5 a.m. and did it all over again. Some nights, I wanted to quit. I'd sit at my kitchen table staring at architectural drawings thinking, I'm too old for this. I'm too tired. This was a mistake. But then I'd pull out the letter, the one from 12-year-old Vincent. I hope you made me proud. And I'd keep going. Mr. Nowak was there through all of it. When I failed my first exam, structural engineering, a subject I should have aced, he took me to the diner. I'm not smart enough, I said. I can't keep up with these kids. You failed one exam. I studied for weeks. I should have passed. Vincent, you're working full-time, going to school part-time, learning material you haven't touched in 20 years. You're doing something incredibly difficult. One failed exam doesn't mean you're not smart enough. It means you're human. What if I can't do this? You can. I know you can. But more importantly, you know you can. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be there. He was right. If I truly believed I couldn't do it, I would have quit already. I retook the exam. Passed with a B+. Tommy was in school too. We studied together sometimes. Helped each other with homework. You changed my life, man, he told me once. I was going to spend the rest of my life in demolition. Now I'm going to build bridges. You're doing this yourself. I just went first. Yeah, but you showed me it was possible. 4 years passed. 4 years of work and school and sleepless nights and coffee and stress and doubt, but I kept going. Mr. Nowak was there every step of the way, every Wednesday, every doubt, every victory. When I passed my final exams, he took me to the diner and ordered the most expensive thing on the menu, a $12 steak. You did it, Vincent. I did. How do you feel? Exhausted, relieved, terrified. Terrified. What if I can't get a job? What if I'm too old? What if I spent 4 years and thousands of dollars for nothing? Then you spent 4 years becoming the person you were meant to be. That's not nothing. My graduation was on a Saturday morning in May. I walked across the stage in a cap and gown. Bachelor of Architecture, age 46. The youngest person in my graduating class was 22. The oldest was me. But when they called my name, Vincent Michael Ortega, I heard the loudest cheer in the auditorium. I looked into the crowd. Mr. Nowak was standing, clapping, crying. Next to him, my mother, crying too. And Tommy, grinning like an idiot. After the ceremony, Mr. Nowak hugged me. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's what I do, Vincent. I believe in children, even when they're 42. Getting a job was harder than I'd expected. I sent out dozens of applications. Most didn't respond. A few sent polite rejections. We're looking for candidates with more experience. More experience. At 46. After spending 4 years getting a degree, I was starting to think Mr. Nowak was wrong, that I'd wasted my time. Then I got a call from a small firm on the South Side. Floyd & Associates. They designed schools and community buildings. The owner, Kenny Floyd, interviewed me himself. You're older than our typical entry-level candidate, he said. I know. But I have life experience. I understand buildings, not just how they're designed, but how they're built, and how they're torn down. I can see structural problems before they happen. He looked at my portfolio, at the drawings I'd done in class, at the letter of recommendation from my professor. Okay, I'll take a chance on you. Junior architect. It's not much money, but it's a start. Thank you. I won't let you down. My first project was designing a library addition for a charter school, community school. low-income neighborhood. Not glamorous, but meaningful. I worked on it for 3 months, poured everything I had into it. When the design was approved, Charles pulled me aside. "Good work, Vincent. You've got instincts. Keep this up, and you'll go far." A year later, I was assigned my first solo project. A new elementary school, Southside Chicago, for kids who looked like I did at 12. Kids with dreams bigger than their circumstances. I designed every detail: classrooms with big windows, a library with high ceilings, hallways wide enough that kids wouldn't feel cramped. And above the main entrance, I designed a plaque: "Built with Hope for Dreamers." When the building opened, there was a dedication ceremony. I stood in the back watching kids run through the hallways, laughing, exploring. Mr. Nowak was there, standing next to me. "You built this," he said quietly. "Yeah." "How does it feel?" "Like I finally answered the letter." In my office, I have 2 things on the wall. The first, a photo of Lincoln Elementary School, before the demolition, a reminder of where I came from, where I lost my way, and where I found it again. The second, the letter I wrote to myself when I was 12 years old. Framed, below it, I added my own note. "Sorry it took 34 years, but I'm building now. Better late than never." Vincent, age 46. Last week, a young architect came into my office, fresh out of college, 23 years old, nervous about her first project. She saw the letter on the wall. "What's that?" I told her the story, about the school, the demolition, the time capsule, Mr. Nowak, going back to school at 42. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've been thinking about quitting. This job is hard. I don't know if I'm good enough." "How old are you?" 23. "I went back to school at 42. You have time. More time than you realize." She smiled. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." Mr. Nowak is 77 now. We still have dinner every Wednesday. He asks about my projects. I tell him about the schools I'm designing, the buildings that will stand long after we're both gone. "You did it, Vincent," he said last week. "You became what you were meant to be. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have, but I'm glad I was here to see it." Sometimes young demolition workers come to our sites, tearing down old buildings to make room for new ones. I watch them work. Wonder if any of them have a dream they've buried, a letter they wrote to themselves that they've forgotten. I want to tell them, it's not too late. It's never too late. But I don't, because they have to find that out for themselves. Just like I did. Have you ever rediscovered a childhood dream you thought was dead? Or had someone from your past remind you of who you used to be? Share your story in the comments below. If this story about second chances, mentors who never give up on us, and finding hope in unexpected places touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more meaningful stories every day. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next inspiring tale. Thanks for watching.